Today, I want to talk to you about a shift happening right now in our profession, the death of the old school sales rep and the rise of the transformational one. Because B2C, B2B and B2C are not the game anymore. The real game, the one buyers actually respond to, is B2H, business to human. Let's be honest. Buyers have changed. They don't want to be chased. They don't want to manipulation tactics. They don't want pressure. They don't want to always be closing. They don't the ABCs. And for a long time, I felt that pressure too. I realized I was pushing so hard to close because if I'm real, I felt desperate. But here's what we don't acknowledge enough in sales. You cannot make someone want to buy from you. You can't force trust. You can't pressure your way into a strategic decision. It doesn't work anymore. And honestly, it really never did. But here's what does work: planting a lot of seeds. Once I understood that, everything shifted. The pressure wasn't on closing anymore. It was on creating enough opportunities so that the right ones would close naturally. Old school reps obsess over the deal. Transformational reps obsess over the pipeline. And when that clicked, I realized this entire profession is a numbers game. And I knew I could outwork almost anyone. The challenge wasn't effort. The challenge was to open enough doors. Everyone talks about B2B, everyone talks about B2C, but neither of those models reflect how people actually make decisions. The model that does is simple: B2H, business to human. On the other end of every email, every call, every proposal is a human being with pressures, deadlines, goals, and fears. Transformational sellers don't chase transactions. They build trust. They elevate conversations. They co-create solutions. They make the buyer feel truly understood. And that mindset wasn't something I studied. It wasn't something I learned through necessity. One of the greatest blessings in my life was dyslexia. Most view it as a limitation. I see it as my superpower. Dyslexia taught me to think creatively, to find alternative paths around challenges. It's why I wound up in art high school and art college. I learned problem solving through a different lens. And when I got into sales, that creative mindset, saved me. LinkedIn became my best friend. Think about it. A CEO relaxing at night, scrolling on their phone, and suddenly my message pops up. I'm right there in front of them. But here's the key: the message can't look salesy, and your profile can't look salesy. It has to be intriguing. It has to scream, what's in it for me, for them. As I built a high quality network, something fascinating happened. Executives would see my connections and think, that person's connected to him. Maybe I should be too. Curiosity opened doors before any conversation happened. But I didn't stop there. I went old school with a modern twist. I did stop-ins, but not the who's in charge here approach. That's what amateurs do. I would research the actual decision maker, walk in confidently and say, I'm here for John, not I have an appointment. That's lying. And it kills credibility. If John came out, I'd smile and say, "Hi, John, Steve Spiro. I know we don't have an appointment, but I'd love a few minutes of your time." You would be shocked how many people met with me right there and then. And if they didn't, often I'd walk away with an appointment. Creativity plus persistence equals opportunity. When you plant enough seeds across multiple channels, LinkedIn, email, call, stop-ins, the numbers eventually tip in your favor. People don't buy scripts. They buy connection. You know, Ask questions like, just curious, why did you agree to meet with me today? What were you hoping to get out of this conversation? What do you already know about us already? These questions help you read expectations, uncover motives, and understand their emotional drivers. You know, Understanding the disc profile personality styles changed everything for me. Some people, you want to get right to the point. Some want chemistry and rapport. Some want lots of detail, and some want energy and creativity. They want to have fun. You know, if you ever if you treat everyone the same way, you lose deals before the conversation even starts. But when you adjust your style to match theirs, they relax, they open up, they trust you faster. That's when you move from salesperson to trusted advisor. And yes, the cliche is still true. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. Not every buyer opens up easily. Sometimes you need to create a bridge. I find stories to be that bridge, stories about similar clients, similar pain points, similar challenges, and how those clients transform. Stories soften resistance. They help buyers, with buyer self-identity. Stories turn uncertainty into curiosity. That's when buyers often reveal their challenges, and the ones that matter, that is, right? Here's the part many reps ignore. You won't get these powerful conversations unless you constantly plant seeds. This business rewards activity, not anxiety. You control how many emails you send and the quality of them. You control how many LinkedIn messages you send and who they get to go to. You control how many calls you make. You control how many doors you knock on. The pressure shifts from you to the process, and that's freedom. The old school sales rep is gone, not because selling is dead, but because humanity is now the differentiator. Buyers don't want perfect. They want genuine. They want real. They want someone who actually understands them. So here's your challenge. Show up human first, salesperson second. Ask deeper questions. Tell powerful stories. Read the room. Serve before selling. And plant so many seeds that the right deals grow naturally. Because when you do, you won't just close more business, you'll transform your confidence, your relationships, your career, and ultimately your life. We're not in a B2B world. We're not in a B2C world. We're in a B to H world, business to human. And the sales professionals who embrace that will own the future. Thank you.